As you may or may not know, I'm on a journey this year, the year 2024. I've decided this year, 2024, I was going to learn Redemption. Did I accidentally choose the best year to start playing Redemption? So I would say perhaps yes. And reason number one would be this set called Roots. Roots is a new set that got released late last year. And in my mind, it's like the designers of the set did a really good job. They got a little sugar, a little secret ingredient, little saucy sauce that makes Redemption a really fun game. And they ended up with the Redemption Roots set. Personally, as a returning Redemption player, I really love to see the cards like Michael and King of Tyrus, some of my old favorites, kind of reimagined and updated to a modern state. And they look clean, they look amazing. The mechanics of the set are pretty simple. And it just feels like Redemption is literally going back to its roots. And to me, I feel like these root cards are going to be everywhere. And they're going to be in the new packs you open. They're going to be in the tournament decks. They might not be as powerful as the old cards, but in my mind, I just really love the simplicity. And they give me like a really good base to go off of. Reason number two that I feel like Redemption 2024 might be the best year to start learning Redemption again is there's been a bunch of rule changes to the game lately that have fundamentally changed the way Redemption games have been played. And I got to talk to some players who told me about what Redemption used to be like before these rules were changed, and this is the reaction I kind of get. Apparently, it was like this season called, I don't know, Combo Winter. It was just this period of time where the rules of Redemption enabled such really powerful combo decks that got to play the game of Redemption on turn one. And so if you got to go second, you were just watching your opponent and there's nothing you could really do. So those rules have been added to make it so only one territory class card enhancement could be played per turn. And in general, they're just changing the game in such subtle ways to make it more interactive, more fair on turn one. Another rule change that they implemented was the reserve you cannot remove cards from the reserve before turn one. I was a big fan of that change. And they're making incremental rule changes updates too. Like a most recent one, I feel like, was cards. You can now target cards in the set aside area by default. So it's like a subtle change, but actually I feel like is one change that makes the game better. So my journey so far, I'm 2 months into learning Redemption, and it's been like a little safari ride for me. Has ups and downs, and we'll get into that, but I don't know where you guys are at with your Redemption knowledge. Maybe you're just starting to learn the game, if you've been in the game for a while. So I just wanted to share a little bit of my journey and what's been working for me, what's been frustrating, what's been exciting for me. Maybe this will be like new perspectives you haven't heard, or just helpful advice or helpful wanderings of a baboon through the safari jungle. But a speed bump that I'm encountering when I'm trying to learn Redemption in 2024 is the amount of information I need to ingest and process. Right now, there's so many Redemption cards in the rotation format. It's quite overwhelming to try and get a mental catalog of these cards. What I've been doing every night before I go to bed is I just sit down and I take a look at a certain subset of the cards in Redemption. I go usually by set. So if I started at the most recent set, I was like, okay, what are the most recent Roots cards? And I would just slowly try to read every single card in Roots. Then I'd slowly try to read every single card in Israel's Rebellion. And I just work my way back. But this face that you see here, this Woody's face, is when I first started trying to play games, that would be my face. And this would be my opponent, and just kind of doing their thing with all the Redemption cards, because they knew what all the cards did, but I didn't. Or when I was trying to watch content about other creators, they would be referencing cards by their abbreviation. So for example, there's a card called Authority of Christ, and they, when they were playing that card, they just would say like AOT or AOC. And me as a new player, I'm like, I had no idea what any of those abbreviations meant. So those abbreviations, like, although they're meant to save time, and they really make learning the game pretty difficult for new players, because the new players don't have any idea what you're talking about. So yeah, just a lot of information being thrown at me, feeling like it was a lot to process and take in. Another big speed bump for me was the complexity of Redemption itself as a game. I feel like you have to kind of when I'm explaining the game to somebody who's never played Redemption before, this is what it feels like I'm telling them to do sometimes. The game, I would say, it's very complex. And although that complexity makes for interesting gameplay, it's very difficult to teach new players, and it's very hard to learn. It has a very steep learning curve to it. There's certain terms like interrupt, prevent, negate. If you're coming into the game, it's just like it's difficult to know how all these terms interact with each other. And especially when you start tossing in stuff called toss, like literally toss, it just makes for a very interesting and bumpy ride. It doesn't help that when you're playing a game of Redemption, it's between you and an opponent to have to manage these rules. For example, like in a client like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering Arena, there's no ruling questions that ever come up. The client kind of handles all the code and all the game interactions by itself. Redemption doesn't really have that. And honestly, I don't think it could easily be put into code either. Just, I don't know, it'd be quite the ambitious undertaking to try and turn Redemption into something that's, I don't know what the word for it is, like Turing complete. But basically being able to be like self-contained and run on logical code. So it's like, feels like every single game that I'm playing has like some sort of rule question that I have no idea what the outcome of it is. Be that with like the timings of certain cards, or whether if their card that is interrupting the battle and like removing mine, like what does that actually mean for me? And so it's been very frustrating, honestly, with the rules of the game itself. Another part that's been a speed bump for me has been accessibility of actually getting able to play a game. So I come from other different card games like Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering, where if I want to play a game of Hearthstone, I can play a game of Hearthstone whenever I want. Or play Magic the Gathering, it's like 11 o'clock at night. I can just open Arena and start playing games whenever I want, and slowly iterating my decks and learning. But sometimes it feels like I'm Squidward and watching my past self or just other players just enjoy the luxury of getting to play whenever they want. So Redemption's a smaller community, yeah, it is, and it doesn't have a really big following on Arena or Hearthstone or anything like that. And so if I want to play a game online, I'm going to be having to go on the Discord and asking around in the help channel for Lackey. It's like, hey, does anybody want to play a game? And it doesn't help that I feel like I'm one of the only players in California. It's not like I have a friend group here locally that I can go and ask them if they want to play games locally, like physical card games together. That community doesn't exist for me here. And it's a little bit rough seeing that most other Redemption players are in Central time zone or Eastern time zone. I'm a little just a bit off with everybody else. So it feels a little bit isolating and a little bit hard. It's not impossible. I've been able to get a lot of games in with people on Lackey, and I'm very grateful for that. But I'm just telling you what my speed bumps have been so far when trying to really learn Redemption. Another thing that's been kind of like maybe a speed bump for me is the sparse amount of content and resources out there. So yeah, let's look at the catalog, shall we, of content. Wait, we have Land of Redemption. Okay, cool. We have the Threshing Floor podcast. Okay, yeah. Redemption with Jaden. Okay, Tyler Talks. And then my YouTube searches didn't really find anything else. Maybe like they have like a Z Temple way down there buried. But again, maybe it's just because I'm coming from a different card game where they have like whole, like, imagine like Land of Redemption website. Like, I don't know, guys. I don't even know how to describe it. If anyone who's played Magic the Gathering, they know how important websites like MTG Goldfish are. It's just places where you can easily look and find deck lists and share deck lists and see tournament results, read articles about content creators, see what kind of wacky decks they're trying. There are YouTube channels devoted with hours of gameplay to these card games. And so it feels like I stepped out of like a excess of content into, you know, just kind of, it's not a lot. There's not a lot of content. There's not a lot of Redemption content out here, guys. I'm just saying. Let me just say it. I'll be the one to say it. And for me, that was kind of rough. I love just reading articles and hearing other people's thoughts about the game. And Yeah, that was just kind of like a speed bump for me. Well, now let's talk about the speed boost. If you're playing Mario Kart and you hit those speed boosts, you know what I'm talking about. So the Redemption Discord, probably the biggest speed boost. It's a small Discord. And if for those who don't know, Discord is just like a place where people can do online chats and have like, it's kind of like the modern day equivalent of a message board, but it's all in like real time, and you can share funny memes with each other, videos, images. But yeah, it just is a solid gathering of Redemption players, and you get all types of players. You get the newer players, you have the older players on there, and they're always happy to help you out if you're asking questions. There's different types of channels within the Redemption server. You can talk about deck strategy, you can talk about Lucky. But my favorite channel, or the one that's been the most of a speed boost for me, is specifically the Ruling Questions channel. And although I said the rules themselves were a speed bump for me, what's helping me been able to overcome these speed bump is the Ruling Questions Discord channel specifically. And I want to shout out Mr. Redemption Aggie. It seems like he's on the Discord day and night, and he's like on call to answer any sort of question. To me, he's just kind of like on the wall and he's holding the line, and there's like so many questions coming at him, but he's just able to just be a solid, steady presence in the community and answer questions with authority and decisiveness that we really need. So thank you, Aggie, for all the countless questions you've answered, my own questions even. Another thing that's made it easy to get into Redemption is actually the program Lackey, and the fact that I don't have to pay any money to unlock any of the cards. So for example, like Hearthstone or Arena, that's all monetized. And in order to build a deck, I'd have to purchase packs, and I have to craft cards, use wild cards, and it's just like a big process. I'd have to spend a bunch of money, you know. And the cool thing about Lackey is you have an entire database of all Redemption cards. You can search over that database with pretty detailed filters, and you can build any deck you want. So that feature of Lackey has been amazing. If I want to try out a new strategy, try out a new deck, there's nothing that's preventing me from doing that. I can just go ahead, if I have the Lackey deck list, that is, I can go ahead and copy and paste it, put in a Lackey, and boom, I can start goldfishing with the deck or start playing games with it if I can get a game in. So amazing. In theory, you could just play Redemption for free if all your matches were online. So the only cost would be the paper Redemption cards. And I mentioned these resources earlier, but I just want to also say how much of a speed boost they were for me. It's gold. It's really gold stuff. Land of Redemption, a solid website, a bunch of amazing resources. I'm very grateful for See the Tree and all of his effort spent maintaining this website. Also, huge fan of Redemption with Jaden. Very solid content, his gameplay content, and I just love his commentary where he just talks about his decisions and deck building. That has really helped me accelerate my learning of Redemption. Same with Tyler Talks. I love Tyler's decks. I love the way he thinks about the game. I love his insights about the game. And the Threshing Forward podcast has also been really great too. Haven't listened to all of its episodes, but I've listened to a couple and just really solid stuff. So thank you, Redemption community. Thank you, content creators, for these speed boosts that have helped me. So in this next part, I want to talk about some just Baboony Blurbs, or just like hot takes that I have, or just like random things that I just wanted to say. But my favorite card so far, after getting back into Redemption, has to be the Herods, the boys. The Herods are just so good. Like, you have a Herod that's good at everything. You have a Herod that's good at multiple heroes. You have a Herod that's good at blocking lone heroes. And they're all like can't be prevented or can't be negated. It's just like such a solid crew of boys, you know? I especially love Herod the Great and how he works with Herod's Temple. Just having like a 210 that you can just start tossing all your enhancements, all opponents' enhancements and all your enhancements. It's so satisfying. I also like the gameplay that Herod's Temple kind of facilitates. It protects my stuff in my territory, and there's also a little bit of risk. You have to reserve the top card of your deck in order to play this powerful game plan. So it's like, oh no, am I going to top deck my Son of God by accident? You know, I don't know. I just love the Herods. Definitely want to play more decks with these guys in them. My favorite deck that I played my little short time of 2 months was probably the Gospel of Christ Good Stuff deck made by Demon Hunter. have a series of videos and articles about it, but the deck just felt really smooth. I liked how fast it went. I liked how much all the cards seemed to just work together seamlessly, and it feels like I have the tools I need to win any type of game. And the defense is Harrods, so yeah, Gospel of Christ Good Stuff is my favorite deck so far. All right, before I log off of this video, I wanted to give maybe newer players some advice, or maybe if I could go back in time and tell myself before I started my redemption journey some things. Maybe this last section would be a couple of things I would tell them. So number one, if you're working with a limited set of money and you're thinking about which redemption cards you want to pick up in paper, there's a lot of redemption sets out there. But a piece of advice I would give you is the set Gospel of Christ is so good. Any cards in Gospel of Christ, you can build decks out of them. They're just, all of them are heavy hitters. I feel like you can't really go wrong with getting Gospel of Christ cards. Like, you could build entire decks with them. Gospel of Christ Good Stuff, right? So if you're a new player and you're just getting into redemption after picking up some Roots cards, of course, definitely consider grabbing Gospel of Christ. Oh, and if you're new and you haven't yet already, join the Discord, join the Redemption Discord. It's so good and has been a really bright light in my short career here. I love getting to know all the members of the community, getting to see their different threads when they talk about stuff. I try to keep up with the Redemption Discord, and it's been really fun. So if you haven't already joined the Discord, put a link in the description. And also just wanted to say thank you everybody in the community who's reached out and said nice things about me and my videos. It means a lot to me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. And I want to keep making videos. So let's do it. Let's keep doing it.